everyone. Welcome to the Lung Cancer Living Room. Thank you all for being here, those of you in the room and those of you joining us online tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're excited about tonight. You guys have heard us over the last several months, if not a better part of a year, talk about patient registries and the registry we've been building and that we built and that we launched. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about why it's important, what registries are, how they work, what can come out of them, and how it can directly affect discovery in this space, how your information can have impact and how important it is. So we're excited to have you all here tonight. I'm going to give a little demo. I know most of you in the room and probably most of you online have already signed up for the registry, but if you haven't, my great hope by the end of the night is that you will go to lungcancerregistry.org and fill out your profile. And we're actually going to open, before we go into the presentation, with a video. Jennifer, as most of you know, I don't know where she is, but she worked really hard for our planning meeting that we just had recently at creating a video, and it's a thank you video. And the video, you know, in this instance is a thank you to my mom for putting together this foundation and really, you know, developing and creating this amazing team of people who are literally, quite literally, working 24/7, advocating and fighting for change in this space. So we created this video, and I want to show it so that you guys can all see it. Some of you may have already seen it, and we're going to show it. Are you ready?
Oh, I'll be brave if you're brave. I'll be brave, but only if you're brave. Yeah, we can both be heroes.
Bonnie is courageous, and what she's done after her illness has been hopefully cured. And she's picked up the pieces and she's moved forward, and she's now helping everybody else.
First time I saw Bonnie it's instant click. It's just like we have known each other for years. This friend and this role model, and it's my hero.
I would have to hug her and tell her how much I love her and thank her. That's what she started, that is now worldwide, just started as a dream.
She will always be special to me. She is an angel.
She saw an injustice and she wanted to do something about it. She is the one who drives all of us to do what we do every day. She's definitely a fighter, that's for sure.
I am beyond proud of my mom, not just in what she's been able to accomplish, but in the woman she is as a mom and a friend.
Showing everybody how to be brave and how to keep going, smiling, and not take no for an answer.
I think she sets the tone for the whole organization.
Her whole heart is into it. Every patient she speaks to, every employee she speaks to around here, they're always the most important person in the room.
She just has so much energy, so much passion.
So much life, this zest.
Bonnie's a game changer. She turned to medicine, science, and research and said, we are going to be part of the solution.
Bonnie understands lung cancer. She probably knows more than many of the MD PhDs I've worked with.
Bonnie Adario has horsepower. I mean, she's been able to open doors for cancer patients that wouldn't have otherwise been opened.
Bonnie is the iron hand in the velvet glove. You always feel like you're being treated with respect whilst you're being pushed forward to excel and do whatever you want to do.
She has such a powerful presence in such a positive way.
She treats anyone that walks through this door like family. We all have a part in this fight towards beating lung cancer.
Bonnie has really helped our patients kind of embrace that they too are inspirations to help one another.
I believe.
Coming from having taken care of my mom, who had lung cancer, walking in and feeling the hope, I mean, I felt it right when I met her.
Bonnie, the champion, Bonnie, the patient advocate, Bonnie, the hugger.
From day one, it was hugs, so I knew I was home.
She just embraced me the first time I met her.
From the beginning, she said, you are a lung cancer survivor. I believe it. You're going to be okay, but you need to believe it. And that was the first time that someone had really said that. So that was one of the best messages.
What she does is bring a focus every day to us and reminding us that we cannot wait. We have to drive this forward. Bonnie likes to talk about there being no I in team. Though while there's no I in team, there's certainly I in inspiration. And Bonnie is that.
Her goal was to save one life from lung cancer, and since then she has made so many countless people's lives better, including mine.
It's just so important to bring hope to people with this disease and hopefully eventually a cure, and I believe that she's the one that's going to get it done.
I love you, babe. You've done an incredible job, and we're with you every step of the way.
So I'll be brave if you're brave. I'll be brave, but only if you're brave.
So, great video, right? And so I think, are you crying now?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It was our way of thanking her, and like I said, if we could have interviewed every patient and included them in a video, we would have. But the patient's way, and as much as I'd like to tell you that this video is the beginning of the end, or the beginning and the end of this portion of what I'm about to say, it's not, because there actually is an ask of all of you. I know that each and every person in the room has someone to thank. So what we'd really appreciate is if you guys here in the room, and those of you at home watching live, and those of you that are going to come back and watch later, take a video with the person you're grateful for, and or by yourself, just thanking the people in your life who have made this journey a little bit easier. We want to put together this really great sort of compilation of thank yous. So this was our thank you to you. I don't know who you're thankful for, but maybe you could make a video too.
Well, you know, I just want to make one comment about that video. This is the second time I saw it, and I cried through the first one, and the second one I'll probably cry through it, mostly because some of those people are not with us anymore. The first one on the video was my oncologist. And after he took such amazing care of me, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. So the message is, anyone can get this disease. And that's when we're thanking and we're doing our thank you videos to everybody that we want to thank. Don't forget to mention that. You don't have to smoke. You can be an oncologist and get lung cancer. I became his caretaker. And it was one of the things I'm most proud of. So
it's the thank goes out from me to all of you, the patients, the caregivers, the people that work at this foundation. We do what we do because all of you make it possible for us to do what we do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think it's a perfect segue into the registry and what very important piece this registry and registries like it will play in helping to move the needle forward in this place. So with that, I want to introduce you all to Kyle Brown with Invitae Genome Network. Previously, you guys have heard me talk in the past about Patient Crossroads, Patient Crossroads, Patient Crossroads. So they were who we had originally worked with, and they've since merged, and they are now Invitae. So Kyle, thank you for coming.
Sure, thank you.
You're very welcome. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and before we jump into the registry, and sort of how you got into this space, where you think it's going, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I got into this space actually through a woman I met named Pat Furlong, who reminds me a lot of Bonnie. And I really got into this because of the patients and the patient advocacy foundations. It wasn't about research or building a business or anything like that. It was, I met Pat Furlong, and she worked with, or she had two boys that both had muscular dystrophy. Two boys, can you imagine, right? Mm. And she was a nurse, and she would go to the doctors, say, look, I have some knowledge about what's going on because I've taken care of not one boy with muscular dystrophy, but two. And I understand the genetic components of this. I understand the medical components of this. So she went to various different, foundations and researchers, and she was kind of dismissed as, a hysterical parent, right? And that just bothered me. You live with this. I'm sorry, you're making me cry.
I'll just cry.
But it's tough, and it just struck me that, I'm an internet guy, I'm a technology guy, and I started just thinking about what she wanted me to do, which was put together what she called a patient registry. And I came from the research space. I understood pharmaceuticals and how to discover drugs and such, and I thought, well, that's interesting. And the more we started talking about it, I realized patients are at the center of this whole ecosystem, if you will. And how can you possibly think you're going to cure 10,000 diseases, right, if you don't talk to patients and you don't understand what their journey is and you understand what they're going through? So I got into it through, people just like you, just trying to help and seeing if using the internet and putting this data into one big place, we could just start asking common sense questions that your doctors aren't going to ask you. I think what's the normal time with the doctor now is like 7 minutes, right? And what's he do the whole time you're in the consultation? He's typing on his computer. Well, why not just send you home and say, hey, go to this website and take a couple surveys and tell us about your disease? And so kind of in a nutshell, that's all we're trying to do here, is can we get more people to come to the program? We now call them patient insights networks, and we can talk about, the registry term, but it is about patient insights. And if you do have a URL and you can go and contribute your information on a regular basis, if enough people do that, you just start identifying patterns, right? Bonnie and I were talking, before this, that it's just kind of common sense. And, like Bonnie said, maybe it's people with blue eyes, right? And maybe your blood type makes a difference. Who knows? But unless you ask the non-obvious questions, you're not going to get the non-obvious answer. And if it was an obvious answer, we'd have discovered a cure.
You've been talking about this for years, that the cure to cancer and the answer, and not just lung, but across the board, lies within the patient, right? And on varying levels. We talk a lot here about genomics and
Right.
the DNA and circulating tumor cells and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? But it's that combined with some of this insight data where there's the potential to find patterns. So Kyle, talk to me a little bit about, registries historically, patient insights, the different types that are out there.
Sure.
And go ahead.
Sure. So when we started doing this, I think it's almost 12 years ago now. And when we first started, again, back to Pat, right? And I'm a technology guy. I'm not a healthcare. I'm not a doctor. Why do I know? But I would go to some of these conferences and speak at the conferences about the power of collecting this data and sharing it. And be able to make it available, because collecting data and keeping it all to yourself, we'll get into that. But
Right.
but if you're going to collect this magnitude of data, you need to make it available to anybody that really needs this information. So I would talk about that, and the fact that patients have something to say, and we should share this data. And people thought I was nuts because they came from they're researchers, right? And I'm not blaming them; it's the system. But it's about clinician-entered data, and the doctor is the most important person in the room. I would argue the patient's the most important person in the room. So historically, registries were clinician-entered, physician-entered. Sometimes you'd have pharmaceutical companies set them up, and there's a couple of pharmaceutical companies, they're really famous for doing those, but they don't necessarily share that information, which really restricts access and makes it more difficult. So there's physician-led registries or researcher-led registries. There's also clinical trial and product registries that are generally done by pharmaceutical companies. More and more, we're seeing a blend. And these are, and I think where we kind of made our name was combining the genetics with the patient-reported information. because you do need some level of the clinical insights.
Sure, of course.
But you need them both.
Right.
Right. It's not a all or nothing thing. We need them both.
Right.
So that was why, I joke, I keep changing the name of the company, right? So that's why we were excited to join with Invitae, which does genetic testing, right? Because now we have the patient side of the house. We can collect clinical data and we can get the genetic information.
Right.
So, my mantra is always more data.
Right.
And put it in one place and make it accessible, and that's how we're going to make progress.
Absolutely.
And I think, with kind of going along the lines of that, one of the concerns, and Kyle, you can probably speak to this, historically was, from some of the naysayers, well, how reliable is patient-reported data? Do they really understand what they're inputting? Can you really use that to move forward, and find value? What do you say to that?
Well, I would say for sure there's value in what the patient has to say. It depends on what it is. If you're going to ask them, do you have a skip? What exon do you have a skip in your mutation? Yeah, probably they're not going to be able to tell you that. But if you ask them, how far do you drive to the doctor? What doctors do you see? How do you feel? That's the thing that's always kind of stuck with me is a doctor can't tell you how you feel.
Right. And that's a good point, Kyle, that you're bringing up, because that data as well could tell us where the access issues are.
Yeah.
For patients getting to the right treatment programs, especially people in rural areas and what have you. What are they doing? If they get diagnosed at all, how are they getting treatment?
Yeah.
When they haven't got a car and they haven't got a way to right?
And when that really hit home for me, I was in Latin America. We were doing this Latin America oncology program for all the countries down there. And it was really fascinating when we started looking at what data they wanted to collect. It wasn't about medical history.
Right.
It was about, how far do you drive? How do you get care?
Right.
Because like in Brazil, you go to Sao Paulo, and that's about it.
Right.
Right? Or Rio.
Right.
If you're in any of the other, geography, you're traveling. And that impacts your health care.
So with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about, the difference in registries, because some registries, and maybe what makes our foundation's registry a little bit different, is most of them tend to be point-in-time information, right?
Yeah.
Where somebody's rolling out a survey for a single purpose, and that's usually a self-serving purpose because they're not sharing that information. It's they need to know something because they're going to go after it.
Yeah.
So what is sort of the ratio of different registries or patient insights or surveys that are out there versus sort of this, this longitudinal sort of approach to looking at what a patient's
Lots
doing?
of them today are very much point in time, as you mentioned. And, that's why I'm not a big fan of the word registry, just because it's like,
It already has
it's a one-time deal, right?
Right, yeah, it already has a name. Yeah.
Where insights change over time, right? What you're experiencing today might be different than what you're experiencing 3 months from now.
Right.
And especially if your diagnosis goes metastatic, for example, right? I mean, everything kind of changes. So you need to follow folks. I would say historically, most of these programs have been point in time.
Exactly.
We've always done longitudinal.
Yeah.
Where we'll actually send a email out to folks to say, hey, come back and take your 3-month check-in or your 6-month check-in. And it's a subset of the questions. You don't need to ask them their birthday again.
Right, exactly.
But you want to know what changed over time. And if you start doing enough of that and start tracking people on a regular basis, you can start identifying the journey.
Well, and it's helpful for patients too to have all their information in one place where they're not rifling through notes like I'm always doing. It's like, what file's that in, and having to write all of this stuff all over again.
Yeah.
Will they be able to print their data and when they're going to a new doctor so they can just go, here it all is?
Yeah, I mean, the electronic medical records are certainly getting better at doing that, but certainly you can, today you can print out your profile and take that with you and show that and share that with other folks.
Yeah, so for those of you who haven't yet signed up and joined the lung cancer registry, what we're looking at is, okay, where are you right now? But we're also taking a look back at how you got here, beginning with, sort of symptoms, misdiagnoses, what were those, that sort of thing. And then we're able to follow you longitudinally with what Kyle was referring to is maybe some follow-up emails 3-6 months down the road saying, okay, has anything changed? What has changed? What does that look like? But on top of that, the registry enables us to mine it, if you will. So if you're an EGFR, an ALK patient, or if you don't have any markers, right, and industry is working on a particular drug or has a trial happening and they're looking for specific subtypes, we can then reach back out to you and say, hey, this is what's coming down the pike and this is maybe what industry is looking for, right? So there's so many possibilities, quality of life, right? How can we better, what quality of life looks like for a patient? There's a ton of ways that we can use this registry.
Yeah, generally we do see these things evolve over time, right? I mean, we're just going to continue to create, additional questionnaires and collect more data because you don't know what you know until you start collecting this information.
Exactly.
But you mentioned something really important, Bonnie, which is kind of survey fatigue, right? I'm sure everybody's been asked to complete questionnaires about your journey, right? And
sure,
about the 15th time you do that, you get a little tired of it.
Right.
So one of the things that we're excited about is through a program like this, we can actually deliver multiple different researcher type of studies, right, through this same registry program.
Yeah, right.
So, if there is this ability to reuse some of that data, hopefully we won't have to ask those same questions
over and over and over again.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about privacy, and then I want to go in and talk about how this data might be used and give some examples. But opting in and privacy, because I know a lot of people are concerned about that.
Yep.
What kind of information am I giving out? What's enough? What's too much? And how that might impact their lives. Can you talk a little bit about?
Sure. So first of all, as far as like privacy and security, so we also do this for the National Institutes of Health, which is really rigorous, right? So when the government, is concerned about privacy, they make you jump through a lot of hoops, and we've jumped through all those hoops successfully. We're one of the few groups that are able to collect personal identifying information on behalf of the government, which means we really got to be buttoned up when it comes to privacy and security of your data. But when people are opting in, you opt in, and you choose to participate. You can choose to be contacted. You can choose not to be contacted. You can decide you want to share your data for research or not. It's really up to you. But everything that you put in there is only accessible by the staff. It's not accessible by pharmaceutical companies. We never, ever have given out contact information to anyone. We never will. You guys are the trusted gatekeepers, right? And you all are trusting your data with Bonnie and Danielle and the team. But our job is to safeguard that information and make sure that when you are putting that data there, it's secure. And we're not going to give it out willy-nilly to people unless there's a really good reason for that.
Well, and you know that we advocate for the shared voice between you and your physician. So you go in armed with information, and you then say to them, well, explain to me what is the difference between the trial you're offering me and the trial here, here, and here, and why is this one the best for me? And, I think patients are happier and physicians should be happier as well, that you're in agreement that this is the right thing for you. And if it's not, then you have options to, make it right.
That's right. Andrea, anybody online? We good? So at this point, I want to, give a huge thank you to Kyle for coming out and working with us on building what we believe is an amazing registry and going to do amazing things. Jan, who is sitting over here on the couch.
She's shy.
She is shy. She sat with me weekly for the better part of a year in order to create and develop and refine this registry. And so I can't thank you both enough, because I think together we're going to be doing.
We have
really,
the easy job.
Really amazing
I mean, the
things.
video, and I'll never forgive you for making me cry.
Yeah.
But you know, you guys do the hard work, and you know, you guys deserve all the thanks because you don't have to do this.
Thanks, Kyle.
And that's, you know, it's
But
a
we
big
care. We
it's
really
a big
do.
deal.
We really care.